What is up, guys? Doing another one down solo. Today I'm bringing you Stealing Xmas. This is probably the, I guess you could say the most difficult of the Christmas heists. It's probably the one that requires the most of you. Santa's Workshop is pretty defensible and you just kind of wait until you get 4 bags. White Xmas is pretty similar in the sense that you just gotta wait for the pilot to get into the helicopter and then wait for the helicopter to come back. And then this heist actually requires you to like do objectives and actual things. So this one's more like an actual heist that's Christmas related. So an interesting thing about this run is I did it in a build that requires 0 DLC. Actually, I don't even know if it requires community items. I can't really remember if the platypus and the electric brass knuckles were community items or if they were just added to base game. However, if they were just added to base game and they're not community items, even though I don't really consider community items DLC because literally anybody can get those, this build is a in my opinion, one down viable DLC run. Well, I obviously consider it one down viable. I did a solo with it. So you should be able to rearrange it to work with playing with teammates. So, I thought that this would be a good heist to kind of play around with this build on and kind of, I guess, showcase it a little bit. So this is all kind of a 2-in-1 video. I wanted to do the no DLC run to show that it's definitely possible to do one down without any DLC due to things that Overkill has added to the game. And also that this build's actually, not only is it no DLC, but in my opinion it's actually pretty good. And it, and then there's my train of thought. Oh, and also do a run for this heist. I thought this heist would be a good run for it. So the concussion grenade to cover myself as I was opening the shopping bags. Earlier I picked open the jewelry store door. Earlier I didn't explain that, I just realized. Because I didn't want to, excuse me, in the case that I got the jewelry store objective later in the heist, I wanted to go ahead and have the door open so I didn't have to try to pick it during an assault wave. Of course, I didn't know that I was going to get it at any point. I just wanted to be sure. Went ahead and picked up these phones and tablets because money. No, there's no other reason. Also, just kind of like randomly positioning myself in some of these rooms so that I can be ready for an objective just in case an objective spawns there. So, was hoping I didn't have to drill the grates and instead got to drill the door. And as a matter of fact, I did get to drill the door. So that was pretty nice. This drill is definitely a lot easier to defend than the one that's on the grates. Cages, whatever you want to call them. So this build utilizes the platypus, the bronco, both modded for concealment to the best of their ability. I got to 23 concealment, along with the electric brass knuckles. And so I had to throw points or extra points into Sneaky Bastard Ace and Low Blow Ace so that I could pick up full utilization of crits and dodge for this build. So I didn't get to like pick up any skills for the Bronco for reloading or faster fire rate, but it's still obviously the Bronco still performs excellently. I'm gonna go ahead and try to convert this guy so I can go ahead and get converts, but I kind of got wrecked. It happens though. Then I realized that I was surrounded by 500,000 tasers. Managed to get a really awesome Messiah off this taser because I was like, I don't want to shoot this guy, so I'll just kill the taser. My Bronco isn't terribly accurate, somewhere in the high 70s, so enough that from short to medium range it goes where I want it to, but at longer ranges it has a more spread than I'd like, but that's okay. That's not a massive problem considering that's why I have the platypus, which is considerably more accurate. I think this particular build might have 100 accuracy. Of course, I have the crits for moments like that, so when I have to pump 2 bullets into enemies, and I can just pump 1 bullet into them and get a good crit. As far as differences between electric brass knuckles and the buzzer, there really isn't one. The taser comes out 1/10 of a second faster, and the buzzer can swing again 1/10 of a second faster than the buzzer can. Or like the brass knuckles can swing 1/10 of a second faster than the buzzer can. I'm not sure if I said that or if I said it incorrectly. Regardless, there really is not much of a difference between them. It's really just style. The 10th of a second might come in handy at some points, like coming out faster, because that's what the buzzer is for. But a case could also be made that the 10th of a second between swings on the electric brass knuckles might actually save time if you're trying to stun a whole bunch of people at the same time. So, I mean, it's really just preference. And mostly just style preference. Took note of that money back, so I can come back and get it later, because that's sweet, sweet loot. I like sliding down the Christmas tree because it prevents you from taking fall damage. I'm pretty sure that it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't think you'll go down if you just jump from the top floor. I'm like 90% sure you won't, but I still like sliding down the Christmas tree because it makes me feel cool. Like just imagining in my head John Wick jumping off of a ledge onto a Christmas tree and then like semi-falling / grinding down this Christmas tree. I don't know, it just seems cool to me. Picking up some extra loot while I'm waiting for the computer thing to proc up. I was glad that I had went ahead and opened up the jewelry store earlier. Of course it wouldn't have mattered because the went to an assault change, or like the assault wave ended right here and I had been invaded for a little bit, so it wouldn't have mattered if I would have picked it open earlier or right then. Saves me a few seconds of leeway time to pick up some jewelry though, just for some extra cash. I got quite a few extra bags on this run, if I'm not mistaken, so it's pretty cool. I usually don't get to have the time to do that, but since the bag secure area is so close to all the objectives, it's really easy to. I do plan on doing some runs in the future where I, do some runs in the future where I try to get all bags on certain heists. Not on all heists, or maybe I will on all heists, I don't know, if I run out of ideas. I think my first undertaking though is probably going to be rats. Probably going to try to do that, getting all bags. I think that'll be a fun little challenge. I just need to throw together a build built for long-term survivability. That might be a build that I actually use Stockholm Syndrome on, like Stockholm Syndrome Ace, because I'll want to be able to come back from custody, because day ones is really going to be a bit of a drag, and I don't know if I'm going to have enough utilities to be able to, like doctor bags and stuff, to be able to make it all that time, to cook all 7 bags. But I don't know, we'll see. Wanted to try to use a bit of a kooky build to do it, because it's going to be a holdout heist, and I usually try to do kookier builds on holdout heists, because they're just generally not as difficult. You're just trying to kill enemies faster than they can kill you, and it really isn't that hard to do with certain builds. Dozers are kind of giving me a bit of a headache here. Tried to poke around the desk to lead them around, but the enemies all switched their targeting priority to me as I was doing so, and weren't focusing on my converts, which is fine. Sometimes it's okay to do little seemingly stupid things like that, like go out of cover, even if it didn't make a whole lot of sense, simply because your converts will be pulling the attention of your enemies. Enemies will still be more likely to target you than they will converts, but if converts are shooting back at them, a lot of times their attention will be diverted, especially if you're not shooting at them. But once you're in like a certain vicinity, enemies will they will prioritize you anyway. I'm not sure if I can't remember what it is. It's a 2nd tier skill on the rightmost ghost tree. I think it's a silent killer tree. It's one that everybody gets that lowers your chance of being shot at by 35%, which actually just decreases the distance at which enemies will aim at you, or will start putting target priority on you. I don't know if that comes into play with converts or not, so I don't know if enemies will actually be more likely to target your converts if you have that skill. So I don't know if it affects solo play or not, but I just pick it up because I use it as a filler skill so I can pick up, what do you call it? So I can pick up low blow. Forgot to have the jewels on me, and that I couldn't pick up the diamond necklace. I was like, why can't I pick up this stupid thing? And I was like, oh right, I have a bag on me. I didn't have bag throwing skills on this build. I just didn't really have the spare points due to how constrained I was trying to pick up all the things I needed to pick up to begin with. I was able to yell at that guy and tell him to get down while also trying to shoot at that shield, which was pretty nice. Anyway, if I had had bag throwing skills, I probably could have just poked out just barely from behind the desk and thrown the bags over to the Christmas tree, but I wasn't able to do that, and that's okay. Pulling some cool spinny moves as I'm reloading and trying to wiggle through the hallway. Wasn't really intending to. Snipers on the rooftops can be kind of a pain. Well, I say kind of a pain. They are a real pain. No, I take that back. They're just kind of a pain. They're not as much of a pain as they are on other heists. Because if you hang on the edges of the roof, the snipers kind of have a harder time hitting you. As long as you're conscientious of the fact that the snipers are there. Gonna go ahead and pick up a little bit more loot while I'm waiting for Bob to show up. Thankfully, a lot of the enemies were down on the first floor, and they weren't bothering me while we were in between assault waves. I was also hoping that they would start spawning from the bottom as opposed to the roof still before the objective changed, so that way I could go ahead and start getting started on grabbing the C4 and placing the C4, and most of the enemies would still be in the mall being distracted by my converts. I can't remember if that happened on this run or not, though. I got stuck on the stairs there for a second. I'm not sure what happened. Probably just time to turn too fast. Again, just trying to poke my head out, look around for snipers. Saw a whole bunch of enemies, and I was like, I'll just go back down here. I like camping in the jewelry store because behind that desk is extremely defensible. Enemies can't really shoot you over the top of it like they can in some of the other stores. In some of the other stores, the counters are just low enough that enemies can shoot you over them. Because enemies don't have to be able to aim their gun at you in order to be able to shoot you. I got kind of stuck in a pickle here, so I just blitzed it and made it somehow. Jeez. Way to go dodge. And enemies just not shooting me for some reason. That happens sometimes. Like, sometimes you just blow past enemies before they have a chance to even really target you. And then other times you'll poke your head out of cover for half a second and you'll just get lit up by 15 people. Which is the name of the game sometimes. I want to go ahead and grab this convert and put myself in a position where I can get a Messiah, hopefully. I was worried that I was going to go straight into fatal mode, but I managed to get behind this bit of cover before I revive myself with Messiah. Definitely always want to try to be away from as many enemies as possible when you're going down in Swan Song so that you don't just go into fatal mode instantly from everybody shooting at you. That's one of the problems I'm having with the transport heists. The other two that I'm needing to do, which are Crossroads and Downtown, both of which the enemies are so compacted on that map that it's really hard that if I go down, it's hard for me to not go into fatal mode almost instantly on certain occasions. Anyway, enemies don't have to be able to aim their guns at you physically in order to be able to hit you. They just have to be able to see your head. It's kind of the way that civ detection works. If a civilian's head is poking into a wall, a guard can't detect him. And that's because all the detection in this game is based on the head hitbox. And there is a small amount of space that extends above the head, which is why sometimes you're able to point guards out in stealth even if they're like behind a wall, but it's a low wall, so you can still like not even see the top of their head, but like a few inches above their head you can still spot them. Thankfully I didn't go down while those tasers were tasing me. A lot of the enemies were still downstairs, and I wanted to try to place as much C4 as I could while they were being distracted by my converts. But yeah, enemies they just need to be able to see your face. So as long as your face is hidden, they actually can't hit you. So if you're just hiding behind like a beanpole, but the enemies can't see your face, then you're technically behind cover. But if the enemies can, over like low walls, see the top of your head, even if you're crouching, you can still be shot. So that's an interesting thing to always keep in mind, is be sure that you actually just want to follow the rule, if I can't see them, they can't see me. This guy killed me before I was able to stun him. I was a little disappointed in that. He did his job really well, but I didn't want him to do his job well. But I feigned death, so that's pretty neat. I didn't want to shoot him because I wanted to try to convert him if I had the ability to, and I did. Of course, Bane called out that snipers were coming in, so I tried to be a little careful, be sure I was on the edges of the map so I could try to find where their lasers were at. I'm pretty sure the spawns were starting to decrease a little bit by this point. Probably not, it's probably just my imagination, but I feel like there was a fade coming up here. Thankfully that sniper didn't hit me because of dodge. But that was actually another example. Like, even though his laser couldn't like be pointed at me, he was still able to shoot me because we could see each other's faces. I'm actually really glad that happened, simply because I was able to further solidify that. I think that's probably something I should have mentioned in my 1-tips general gameplay video, but it's hard to think of all these little details while I'm making the video. And I kind of like, you know, spurting them throughout these videos as well. It gives a little more insight sometimes. And so, it also just gives nice examples, like the sniper thing a moment ago. Anyway. So just kind of waiting for the assault wave to calm down a little bit, clear out some of the enemies on the roof before I start putting the C4 down. There seems to be fewer enemies. I was pretty sure we were in Fade at this point, but I still didn't want to risk dying while trying to put this C4 down, because I didn't have my other... I mean, both my medic bags were placed and I'd have to travel to get to them, and I didn't want to do that. One convert still hanging around somewhere, wasn't sure where. Managed to get a critical. Yeah. But I knew I'd have enough time to place the C4 down. I only had like 2 more plays at this point anyway. Or 3, I'm sorry. Sniper couldn't shoot me because my face was concealed through both the glass and the little pole. Went ahead and shot him for this one though, or missed first, then got him. There we go.
They're on the roof. Back up.
Like I said, I really like the Platypus Bronco combination. They complement each other pretty well, I feel like, as far as a sniper pistol combo go. And like I said, they're both one down viable. Like by far and away, they both are. Bronco for its high damage, good base reload, so on and so forth. High concealability, you can get up to 33 concealment if you're using the right mods and stuff like that. I was going to camp here, again behind the jewelry store desk, to kind of pull enemies to this area so that I could get them to not be at the Christmas tree. And of course, just waiting for Bile to show up so I could attach the Christmas tree or the helicopter. But back to how the weapons complement each other. When you mod the Bronco for concealment like I did, it doesn't have the best accuracy, especially if it's not being boosted by any of your other skills. At the moment I can't remember exactly what the build is, like if I had points in like things that just give you like a base flat 8 accuracy for all weapons or for pistols or anything like that. I don't think I did, but maybe. I can't really remember. Anyway, the weapons and the stats and like the whole build will be in the description as always. So, but the Platypus had like either 92 or 100 accuracy, so really reliable accuracy. Could shoot through shields. Had a decent rate of fire, enough that I could use it as a kind of a slow DMR. Nothing like the Contractor, but its damage is better than the Contractor. I mean, not enough to make a gigantic difference because it didn't hit any breakpoints with their damage difference, honestly. But you probably could if you silenced it, but I didn't have enough points to pick up silencer skills. So, dodge helping me out again. I learned an interesting fact the other day about dodge that I didn't know. It's actually better if you're being shot at more for your dodge, not because of course, like, you know, the more you're being shot at, the more chances you have to dodge, but then again, the more chances you also have of being shot. The reason it's a good thing to be shot at more when you're dodging is because if you are shot at by one enemy and then you dodge, you cannot take any more damage for like, is it a third of a second? It's a third of a second, or it's like 0.15 seconds or something. Anyway, there is a very small cooldown window. It's not 0.3 seconds, there's no way. You take damage too fast. Maybe it's 0.03 seconds. It's in the long guide, like the exact number is in the long guide. I'm sorry that I can't remember right now. I just know it's a very small time window, and that's the key thing to keep in mind here. The exact number doesn't really matter all that much. But when you're being shot at, especially by a large group of enemies, of course, multiple bullets are going to be hitting you simultaneously. If you dodge one bullet and don't take damage, the game still counts it as though you got quote-unquote hit. It just doesn't apply damage to you. And so the cooldown that the game has for you being hit, which is point however many seconds between each shot, Dodging the first one will actually allow you to dodge all subsequent shots that are within that little grace period. So if like 5 enemies shot at you at once, the first bullet reaches you and you would dodge it, and then the other 5 hit you within that same time window, you would automatically dodge the other 4 bullets, even though you even though the probability might not go through. Like, the game might determine that you would be hit by that, but simply because it was within the grace period, you wouldn't take damage for it anyway. So that's pretty cool. I thought it was an interesting fact. However, if you get hit, of course, it actually works against you. So getting hit instead of dodging the first hit kind of negates things. Santa here was being a little slow and sluggish, but I was pretty much done, so I wasn't worried about it. I was letting him take his sweet, sweet time. All the enemies were on the other side of the Christmas tree. That's all there was to it. It's a pretty fun little heist. This run went really well with my no DLC build. Again, all that stuff's going to be down in the description for you guys to look at and enjoy. Anyways, quick look at my stats. Oh, I almost forgot. I can't say thank you for watching yet because I got a little thing here. And I had to open it. I got an armor save from my drop, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and open that at the end of this video just for kicks and giggles, in case I got something cool. So we go to my main menu really quickly, and then open that up. So I'll go ahead and open this up really quickly so you guys can see. I get really close to getting bone armor, sort of, even though it determines it before you actually open the save. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching.